So, how's it going, guys? This is my first actual video using my voice because usually I use auto AI generated voice just because it's easier. I don't have time to record videos a lot of times, but man, I just got this really big urge to record this specific video about slime anime. Yeah, I know, slime anime. No, I know. You guys are gonna be like, oh, slime animes again. Yeah, I know. But surprisingly, there's a lot of them. Like, when I was looking around at some of the anime that were around, there was I think at least 4 technically that had slimes in them, and that may not seem like a lot, but that's like specifically slimes. There's at least 4. So I decided to actually watch them at least till the 5 episode mark. Some of these I've actually watched before, like a long time ago. And I was like, you know what? I'll rewatch them just to get a footnote for like the first 5 episodes and shit. I'm gonna try and give a brief summary of each one, just tiny bit. Obviously, a lot of these are like past animes or current anime. A lot of people have probably seen by now, but still. So this first one, I know a lot of you have probably already seen, but we're gonna start with that time I got reincarnated as a slime. So first, we're gonna read the description of the thing, just get a handle of what it's about. So, That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime is a popular anime series that follows the story of Rimuru Tempest, a man who is reincarnated into a fantasy world as a slime monster after his untimely death in the real world. At first, Rimuru is overwhelmed by his form and the new strange world he found himself in. However, quickly adapts to the beginning and begins to explore his surroundings, making new friends and allies along the way. I mean, so far so good. I mean, it sounds like an interesting anime. As Rimuru grows in strength and power, he sets his sights on becoming a force of good for his world, using his unique abilities as a slime to protect those around him. Throughout the series, Rimuru faces challenges and dangers, but he always manages to overcome them with the help of his wit, strength, and determination. With compelling characters and an immersive fantasy world and stunning animation, That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime is a must-see anime for anime fans of the genre. Which I guess the genre would be kind of like shonen, kind of. It's more of a shonen, definitely. There's a couple of fights and stuff on it. Okay, so why don't we get into like the actual first episode. I'm only going to be covering like the first 1 or 2 episodes of each of these shows just because it seems a bit easier than having to try and do a whole in-depth thing. But if you guys enjoy, which, you know, if you guys enjoy this show or any of the shows I talk about, hopefully we can actually keep this going and make a series out of each one, maybe cover the full season, the full show, or at least like go in a little more in depth into why I like the show specifically. Because right now I'm just going to be covering why you should probably watch the show or why I watched it. Alright, so the show starts in like this really weird, it's kind of like World War II, almost World War II kind of this thing. I don't know, I'm clapping. I didn't mean to clap. Whoops. I'm still getting the hang of this new avatar, so forgive me. But it starts in this World War II kind of like setting, or almost, maybe not World War II, but like a bombing of Japan, it looks like, or some village. I'm assuming it's Japan. It's really implied it's Japan. This girl, she gets, her mom dies in the fire, and this magical hand comes out and just picks her up. And like this vortex of fire entraps her and takes her into another world. And she's going to be obviously an important character later on. It's just kind of an interesting way for this show to start, is 100% to be like, whoa, we're starting with a banger, huh? With like fire, explosions and shit. And then it cuts to present day Tokyo, where this guy, who is our main character, Rimuru, or later Rimuru, his actual name, I'm sure they'll say it in the show, but I am blanking on it right now. He's basically lived this totally blank life. He's just a normal, average dude. He got a job at a major contracting company, worked his way up, started getting money, all this stuff. He's a 37-year-old man. He's basically just kind of, your average dude who lives. They say that he's 37 in the show, which is important, I guess. I don't really know why they give us a date and time, or not a date and time. Sorry, a age, because it doesn't really play into later on, other than the fact that he should be a little more wise or important. Anyway, they cuts to this. There's like a couple scenes that happen in between, but he ends up getting stabbed out of nowhere from this fucking random guy who just. Why? Why is there a guy running in the middle of a crowd going to fucking stab this guy? Like, come on, dude, really? This guy's really just gonna come out of nowhere and stab a guy that he doesn't even know. Like, it just looks like he ran through a crowd with a knife like a rhino, and he stabs our dude. Anyway, as he's dying, this thing called the Great, or that we later know as Great Sage, is like talking to him, right? And he keeps making these off comments like, "It's hot, it's cold, it hurts," and the thing keeps taking that as requests, saying like, all right, well, now you got heat resistance and you got physical attack resistance and stuff. And my boy is actually dying 100%. And this thing just keeps talking. It's never shown if he can actually hear it. It's just 100% like in his head a bit. And he's like, "Oh man, I got stabbed. I am dying. It's cold. It is hot. It hurts." So it gives him like physical pain tolerance. It gives him heat and cold resistance, which turns into thermal protection or whatever. Excuse me. And it is like a very violent way of dying in a sense. Not violent, but like they outright show it. Also, there's this funny scene where he tells this dude, just out of nowhere, in the middle of dying, "Hey, can you delete all of my hard drive history, all my computer stuff before I die?" Which is a really funny just scene. Like, "Hey man, when I die, I want people to delete all the shit in my computer." Honestly, like, wow. And there's so many things on here that's just like, yo, delete that shit. I mean, not really, but anyway, it's just a funny jab, because he was talking about how he's like a lonely 37-year-old who hasn't had a girlfriend and shit. So there's probably some weird stuff on there. Like, oh my gosh. Anyway, when he first starts up and he's just crawling around and he's like, well, there's nothing to do but to eat all this stuff. And because he keeps eating a bunch of shit like plants and other stuff, he gets this unique ability called Predator, which doesn't make sense. Like, it makes sense in the context because he was asking for it kind of while he was dying, that he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna not die a virgin next time," shit. So they gave him Predator, which doesn't make sense. But anyway, they explained that like he eats the shit, whatever he's eating gets stored inside of his stomach, and inside of his stomach it kind of gets turned into this like storage area where he can decide whether to process some things, separate some things. So basically, he eats a lot of things. And then it cuts to him basically walking around the caves and shit, and he meets this dragon named Veldora. And the dragon, Veldora, is like, massive and shit, but obviously our boy can't see, so he just doesn't understand that it's a dragon. When he finally is able to see, because of these magical things, he meets a dragon. The dragon tells him that he died because of a fire girl, or a hero who had fire powers, it seems like, in the flashback, which obviously is our girl, the one that showed up in the beginning that got sucked away, or at least it's implied heavily that it's the same girl. And so, and then there's like this, I don't know, just randomly during all of this happening, there is a random scene that cuts back to the guy actually going through with destroying the dude's hard drive, which is just pretty funny to me. I don't know, just thinking about it. And yeah, I don't know. This show is just basically, it goes on for a while, and like, I don't really want to talk about the show too much because it's really like a mainstream show, so it's really well shot. Sorry, well talked about. I don't know why I said well shot. Anyway, it's really well talked about. So like there's already a lot of videos and a lot of stuff, and it's already 2 or 3 years old. But yeah, there's a couple things that happen later on, like, you know, he eats Veldora, yeah, which is a weird, fucked up scene. It's not fucked up, sorry. It's a weird scene because he eats Veldora in like the 2nd episode, and because of his skill predator, he keeps Veldora inside of his thing, his stomach, until he could break this barrier that the hero made on him. And he basically, you know, gets some extra power from eating him, and he has his aura. He meets these goblins as he gets out of the cave that are like being overrun by these wolves or something, because Veldora has been gone for so long that his protective aura is not around anymore. So the wolves are attacking just monsters, and I guess he finds out that these monsters are pretty peaceful in terms of they don't really know how to fight or want to fight. They just kind of are being subjugated by these wolves. They introduce this thing about how like wolves, or sorry, Rimuru is able to like, he got a name from Veldora, which gives him the name Rimuru Tempest, and from then on he evolved and became stronger, so he's able to also, as he gives everyone else a name, and they evolve, and the wolves evolve into these dire, I can't remember what it's called, but they have like these horns in their heads and shit, and they're really strong. Yeah, it's basically the show. It's, like I said, it's really talked about, so I don't really want to spend too much time on it. This is just the most well-known slime anime, so I was like, I gotta talk about it. But yeah, I give the show like, you know, a 7 out of 10. I really like it. I just kind of think the later seasons fell flat because they were like really rushed, or at least like not as interesting. The first season is really interesting because it's like him figuring out his world, figuring out how to be like not a hero, but ends up being like, you know what, you are my friend now, and we're gonna end up being together. But there's other demon lords like Clayman who are just assholes, I guess, or just like don't really want to play nice with other friends. So the next show that I'm gonna be talking about is actually kind of a heavier show, honestly. Not heavier. Okay, it's not heavier. The intro of the show. Let's go through over the summary first. The show's called By the Grace of the Gods. And again, we're going to read the summary first just to kind of get a thing of what the show's about. So, By the Grace of the Gods is a popular anime series that follows the story of Ryoma Takebayashi, a man who is reincarnated into a fantasy world after his untimely death in the real world. It seems like a lot of these slime ones are people who died, turned into slime things or whatever. Anyway, Ryoma is a kind and gentle man, and he is quickly befriended by 3 powerful gods, Elshar, Rhine, and Vaisravana. These gods decide to take Ryoma under their wing and help him navigate in his new life in his strange and magical world. I honestly really like the gods in this show, because, well, like, it's hard to put it. I'll get into it when I actually review the show, right? But there's like a couple scenes in the show specifically that make me just like the show a lot more when I was first watching it. But anyway, as Ryoma begins to explore his new surroundings, he discovers that he has been reincarnated with incredible powers and abilities. With the help of his gods and a diverse cast of characters, Ryoma sets out on an adventure to make the most of his second life. Throughout the series, Ryoma and his friends face challenges and dangers, but they always manage to overcome them with the help of their wits, strength, and determination, and of course, slimes, because slimes are basically the main topic of this video, obviously. With stunning animation, compelling characters, and an immersive fantasy world, By the Grace of the Gods is a must-see anime for the fans of the genre. So how the actual show starts actually doesn't tell us anything about him being reincarnated, at least not for like the first episode. First episode starts off with just Ryoma being awake. I think they kind of do touch on like him being dead, but I'm not really sure. They just say Ryoma, he's 11 years old, he's been living in the forest. It's not, but he has all these slimes that he's like tamed, and it's just like thousands of slimes. So that's the thing. I wanted to make a video about like monster taming things, but for this one I just focus on the slimes, really. So anyway, they cut to this thing where he has this carving of the 3 gods that he met, which don't show up till episode 2, which is really weird and really funny. And that it's kind of a weird time of events. Anyway, he meets these guys that are like there, these knights, and one guy has been hurt or whatever, and so Ryoma decides to help him out, even though he hasn't really had any conversation with anybody in the real world, or sorry, outside of the forest. So they think he's some sort of enemy because they're like, who the fuck, why is there a fucking kid out here? Gives him this potion that heals him, and these guys are like, huh, so where'd you get this potion? And he's like, oh, I made it. And they're like, what? And he's like, yeah, I can make high grade potions pretty easily that can heal people. And they're like, it's a little sus. Like, how's a random kid just able to make high grade potions that can heal a stab wound pretty easily? So they decide to like follow him back home and shit, and they're like, hey kid, you know, how have you been out here all by yourself, or like what are you actually doing out here by yourself, because so far we've only seen you. And Ryoma's like, oh, about that, I've kind of been alone for a while now. And they're like, what do you mean, what? He's like, he has to think of an excuse as to why he's out there, because he doesn't want to tell him he's reincarnated. Obviously it's kind of a weird thing to say, so he's like, oh, I'm an outsider, and the villagers don't really like me, so I just decided to live out here in a cave in the middle of nowhere, which doesn't really make sense because it's like, why? But it's the best thing he could come up with. And the guys are like kind of confused, and they're a little like, okay, so you've been living out here by yourself? How long have you been out here? He's like, oh, I've been out here for like 3 years. 3 fucking years. And the guys are like, they kind of want to like take him back, right? But they're like, okay, how about this? If you can prove that you're strong, or that you're not lying, and that you actually survived 3 years out here or whatever, we'll just let you live out here by yourself. And he takes this little crystal ball thingy and he touches it, and it shows that he has really strong power. And they're like, damn, he has like a lot of magical potential, or not magical potential, skills and shit. And they're looking at his skills, and they're like, wow, like he's got housekeeping like level 10, he's got mental pain resistance 9, physical pain resistance 8. And they're like, god damn, what kind of life has this kid been living? And it's just kind of a funny scene to think about, this 11-year-old Ryoma just kind of having pain tolerance and mental tolerance higher than most people, that they're like, yo, what the fuck has this kid been up to? I don't feel right about leaving him here in the forest by himself, because obviously it's like, you know, a bad thing to do. So they're like, hey, what if we ask him to come with us? And Ryoma's like, nah, I'm good, I can survive. And they tell him they'll be back to check on him maybe at some point or something, right? And like after they leave, he drops his bombshell that he's like, I lied to telling them about the grandpas that died 3 years ago. It was actually me who died 3 years ago. And we cut to this scene that just, I don't know, this is the scene that really got me, was just knowing that there was kind of a bit of more depth to the show. So Ryoma used to work at this like black company, is what they call it. When people die on Earth, they get like sent over to the other world. I'm not sure if they have some pact or something, but they're like, they get sent over to another world because their world is running out of power. And so the people here on Earth have magic, they just never use it, is what the lady says, which is kind of interesting to think about. They're like, okay, Earth is just full of magic, but no one uses it, and they need to send souls that die from here into the other world so they can keep a constant flow of magic going on their world. And it says that our world is running out. It's just a weird concept if you think about it. Anyway, he gets excited because he's like, oh, wait, what do you mean? So means I get to use magic? Like, can I use it when I get there? Like, you guys are saying that Earth has magic, and that means I have magic. And then he's like, can I use it? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, oh. And he gets this like childlike wonder. It's just, I don't know. I think that's how a lot of us would react if we died and were sent to another world where we're like, hey, you get to use magic now. And they're like, whoa. And there's this scene that, I don't know why this scene got me when I was watching the show. But when I was watching the show, they I was going through some hard stuff, right? Hard times, and I just kind of was watching anime to fill a void and kind of just be like, what do I do in the meantime? And I was like, pretty bored with life and stuff, and felt trapped in that, like, work was just being overbearing. I didn't really go out much. I didn't have an actual life outside of coming home, watching some anime, maybe chatting with a couple people online, playing video games stuff. But like, it felt like I wasn't doing enough. You always get drilled in your head that you should do stuff. You should go out more. You should go experience the world. But it's kind of hard when basically 90% of your life is just revolves around your job. And so I guess like the scene really resonated with me, where Ryoma's getting reincarnated, obviously, right? And so they cut the scene where he is being they tell him, okay, it's, we've told you everything about the world, it's time to send you off. And they tell him, your new life is about to begin. And they tell him, you don't need to be so polite and formal all the time, because he's stuck in his business ways, right? And he's like, yeah, like, I get it. I won't be so polite and formal. And they're like, yeah, just enjoy your life and stuff. And he's like, yeah, I get it. I got it. And they're like, we'll always be watching over you and stuff. And there's this music playing in the background. It's like really heavy. It's just really nice. And they're like, you can talk to us whenever. It's not like you're gonna be alone, but you should go into the next world. And he's like, yeah. And they're like, hey, just remember to have fun and an exciting time. And he starts to cry. And oh boy. That scene really got to me. He starts telling them, thank you. Thank you for giving me another chance. For telling me that I'm going to be okay. You're going to be on my side and stuff, and you're going to talk to me. But when I saw this scene, it was like, just wow. Because I think we all feel trapped, right? In our current jobs, in our current lives, stuff you can't do. And I know this isn't the most powerful scene, and this isn't like the most interesting show either. It's pretty boring, honestly. Like, I'll get into it later, but this scene is what got me to watch the show, at least for a couple episodes. Like, this whole show has this theme about reincarnation. And how there's it's like Ryoma's been given a second chance to life after his death. And the theme of redemption and the opportunity to start anew, it's just, it resonated with me. Like later on in the show, he says like, I never had a chance to actually live my life, to have fun, to do hobbies that he wanted to do, and it just, I don't know. It's sad to think about that he had worked so hard to make sure he's doing well at his job, to make sure he was doing well in life with his boss and his stuff, and none of that paid off. He didn't have fun in his life. I don't know if he ever had actual money or stuff, but it always feels like all that money just goes to bills and stuff, and you don't actually have fun with it. You're working to survive, not to live. And that scene in this show where he gets really sad and emotional when they tell him, hey, remember to live your new life. And that the most important thing is to actually have fun in your new life. It just hit really heavily to be like, wow. Yeah, like, he's getting a second chance to actually live his life, to do something he never got a chance to do in his other life. And just, I don't know, for some reason when I was watching it might have been because I was in a dark time and all that stuff, obviously. It just made me up alongside with him, being told that, hey, live your life now. You can have fun. And what you went through sucks. And you're being given a second chance, whether that be by these gods or just in general. Be a change of pace in your life or something. It hit really heavily, and that's why I wanted to watch the show. It's just wow. Aside from that, though, the show is actually pretty subpar because I don't really like watching too many of these long form slice of life kind of shows where it's like hold on, slice of life shows where it's like, you know, nothing really happens and stuff. Like, I'll be honest, the show is pretty bland. It is the most bog standard show. He gets it reincarnated in another world. He decides that he's going to take it easy and not do much, and he wants to open a fucking slime laundromat, man. In this new world, and it's just so dumb. It's like he wants to open the slime laundromat and help out people using his slimes and his magic and stuff. It is such a weird plot, and they keep doing this. They keep introducing new characters and stuff and all that, and they're like, obviously, oh, you know, there's a new problem. It's like a problem of the day kind of anime, and there's new people and all that shit, and the whole story follows him trying to open his laundromat and live his life in this new world and make new friends and all this stuff. And it's your basic anime. It's honestly worth a watch, at least if you like slice of life anime. Otherwise than that, I didn't really enjoy it as much. But I'm not gonna shit on it because obviously, like I said, I cried in like the first episode, so I don't fucking, who am I to talk about what you should and shouldn't watch? But yeah, this anime is worth a watch at least a little bit, and it's just kind of a hard scene that hits. Otherwise than that, it's kind of bleh. Anyway, on to the next anime that we're going to talk about. Actually, we're not gonna do the video, the rest of it today, because this is getting way too long. It also got a little heavy. I mean, it's nice to end on a heavy note, I guess, but it's getting way too long. So we're gonna have to say goodbye for this one, and hopefully you guys liked the video. I'm gonna try and not do this long form too much and actually like do better you know, stuff. Sorry, I'm getting distracted.
I'm gonna try not to do these long form videos and actually do shorter content, better edited and all that, and be a little more quirky and funny and stuff and lighthearted shit. But for this one, I just wanted to talk about this anime and this stuff. Obviously, it's kind of a hit or miss, whether you like it or not. I don't know. Anyways, hope you guys will consider checking out the other videos and subscribing. My goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Hopefully we can make it happen. Here's to hoping. Whoops, wrong one. Here's to hoping. So, if you guys could leave a like, share, and, subscribe and stuff, it'd be sweet. Anyways, laters.